Hey, everybody, this is the Full Vantage podcast, and this is my attempt to document and share the lessons I've learned and am learning as I help build community and culture from scratch that will make an impact that lasts forever. This is the Full Vantage podcast. There is a serious hustle when it comes to having community. I was on a flight to Chicago, and I was writing some things down, and I did something super weird. I went to the back of the notebook that I had, and I started writing a bunch of things down over the past 3 years that have really changed who I am today. And as I was doing that, I thought it was kind of fun because not many people write in the back of a journal. Well, why? Because they either lose the journal or they don't ever get to that part of it. They start a new journal, they go to the next thing. And so I thought it would be kind of funny to mentally get to the back of the journal because a lot of times we need to start out at the end of where we want to be before we ever get there, because reverse engineering things is actually how we can determine those things coming into our everyday life. So as I'm sitting there, I'm writing a bunch of things in my journal. I notice the guy next to me, he starts pulling on my seatbelt, and I'm like, what is happening right now? I'm not sitting in the middle. I look over to him, and this guy, he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." He unbuckled my seatbelt from the actual seat, not the part that's in front of me, but from my actual seat. I'm like, oh, it's all good. It's like, I thought I was grabbing mine. I'm like, it's fine. No worries. My name's Trevor. I feel like we should know each other now because you're pulling on my seatbelt. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. That was kind of weird. And his name is Owen. And Owen and I start having this amazing conversation about what he's doing with his life. For some reason on planes, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but people are way more open than average life sometimes. And so I'm chilling. I'm in my own world. AirPods, noise canceling is on. So I end up stopping what I'm doing, stop writing in the back of my book, and I start thinking about and engaging in a conversation with the guy next to me named Owen. And he is living in California, and the company he was working for went under, but he's dating this amazing girl. But he's got this idea to move back to Denver, where he's from. And all of these things are happening in his life. And he begins to ask me about what I was writing and what I was thinking about. And I was telling him, well, I'm beginning in the back of my book because not many people write in the back of the book, but also I've got these ideas that are in my future based off of where I've been in my past, and I'm trying to see them come into my reality. And we're having this huge conversation, this huge macro level conversation. And Owen begins to talk to me about his relationship with his girlfriend and how much he, loves her or is interested in pursuing a relationship with her and keeping that going, but he hasn't talked to her about what he wants to do with his future yet. And it's just this really cool conversation that we're having because it's so genuine and it's so real. It's so impactful because we have gotten to a point of authenticity that you rarely ever get with somebody. And I said, look, I totally get it, but there's this question that comes up a lot in my life, and it's, you would move across the country for a job, but would you move across the country for community? What's more important? I think many of us would say community is 100% more important, but we rarely ever find people leveraging their life for the community that they have found impactful. And I just was asking him a few things about his own community and what if, in this even conversation that we're having right now, Owen, what if the foundation of your future is your community? What if? And then let's think about that further, because if the foundation of your future is your community, what type of community are you having to accomplish the things you want to have happen in your future? And he's like, man, I've got this friend, he follows Jesus, but I don't understand why he follows Jesus because he makes decisions that are super weird. And then all of a sudden I'm getting to share like the gospel with this guy, and there's like really good news when it comes to a relationship with Jesus because he doesn't force us to do things. He invites us to do things. He invites us to live with him. He invites us into a life that is actually more full of life because he says he is actually the way to more life. And then if we think about it, the world continuously tries to get us to live just like everyone else is living, which is this very middle of the ground way of life. Because if we can just have more people living this way, then we could maybe make more money, or we could maybe get more consistency, or fill in the blank. But my thing is with Owen is there's a uniqueness that you were made to live life with, and a uniqueness you bring to the table when it comes to community. So what if, like, you began to think about how you build community with others in terms of not being comfortable anymore? And as we went down this path, we got to this point where we began to think about, what if the fuel to our loneliness and to the mundaneness and to the averageness that a lot of us maybe end up in settling, what if the fuel to our loneliness is comfort? Is us becoming like other people so much so that we lose ourselves in those places and in those thoughts and our ideas, and we start conforming to the patterns of everyone instead of living in our uniqueness of why we were made and what we were made for, and that we actually need our uniqueness to surround each other in community. Because if you have a really good community, then you have people that you don't see eye to eye with, that you don't always have people that you agree with in your community, so that you can surround your problems and your goals and your dreams and aspirations with different vantage points, so that you can take advantage of seeing this point at which you want to be from a different angle that could be taking full advantage of their vantage point, and seeing where you want to go, who you want to be, and this family that you say you want to have come into your life, so that you can maybe not have blind spots and you can take full advantage. And as we went down this immensely powerful, difficult path of conversation when it comes to him realizing that he needs to have an uncomfortable conversation with his significant other because he does want to have a family one day. And that's not a bad thing for her or for him to have. Because if we think about it, clarity is one of the most kind things that we can do and give to each other. And as we're on a plane and thinking about our futures, I'm ironing out some things that I maybe even want to have happen in my life. And he's ironing out things that he wants to have happen in his life. And we've never known each other before except for the past 45 minutes. And we start to follow each other on social media, and we connect. And it's so cool because out of this conversation, the conversation began with a point in our future and reverse engineering that point to where we are, both me personally for me, and then him personally for him. And bringing those two moments together where we say, hey, maybe community could be the foundation of our future. And maybe our future isn't just built on where we've been and the body of work we've built up into this moment. And maybe we need to give direction to the friends and the people that are around us in our lives and say like, hey, I think that I'm dreaming about this goal in this direction. And what if we invited those right around us just into that dream and had a conversation about it? Not to where like we have to have everything ironed out or it was going to be perfect, but to where I can just share the most impactful things to me and where I'm going and why I'm going where I'm going because of my relationship and faith in Jesus. And you may not have that yet, but what if the dreams and goals and aspirations of who you want to become looks more like what you're looking for in a relationship with Jesus than anything? And then I get to share the gospel with him, and he's like, oh, man, like that's so cool. That helps me understand my friend a little bit better, but it also helps me understand like the types of uncomfortable conversations that I can have with people that maybe I disagree with, or maybe I don't understand. And it's all okay because we're in this world and this life together because we're all just humans trying to figure out this thing called faith, because faith is a part of the human experience. And if we could be uncomfortable, then maybe, just maybe, we will stop being lonely. Because the human experience in life is really lived in the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. Not in the lukewarmness of energy, but where energy is maximized on both ends of positivity and negativity. And growth really happens when things get really hot or things get really cold. And there's this energy and this intensity and this focus that comes in to all of our lives when we get just a little uncomfortable. So how could we step into something today that's both uncomfortably positive and potentially uncomfortably negatively, and just reveals growth and understanding for us as individuals? So I'm not even exactly sure if everything that I'm just even sharing right now makes complete sense to you. That's okay, because I'm also in process, and what I've learned the most about being in process as a human is revealing that this conversation can come forth, and we need to have more of that. Conversations that are actually had out loud with another individual, where we iron out what it means to grow, to live, and to find this life that is worth living. What if the fuel to your loneliness is your comfort? Let's just begin there and see what happens to the community and the real relationships that we're trying to have. Because remember that I have found, and I'm looking and seeing everywhere, that there is a hustle to community. And it looks like this: just because the community is built doesn't mean you're a part of it until you add to it and start building it. It still takes a massive amount of energy and effort on the individual's end that is not actually in the community just yet. You can be a part of it, but it takes you adding to it and actually being a part of it. Being yourself. We need the unique version of who you actually are, not who you think to be. This is taking full advantage of where we are and where we're going in life. Let's get after it.